Happy Wednesday, and the question of the week is, what is an opportunity zone and how can it benefit me in commercial real estate? This is Dawn Connors at Mortgage One. Before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I put out videos like this multiple times a week. So let's talk about one of my favorite topics. It's one of my favorite topics because my husband and I took advantage of this a few years ago, and we're currently working through our property, which is in an opportunity zone. So the first thing we should do is define what is an opportunity zone. By definition, it's economically distressed community where new investments under certain conditions may be eligible for preferred tax treatment. Cool, right? So what that means, by definition, is you can have investments that you've had capital gains on over the last preceding years, say from 2017 through 2026. You have these prior capital gains because maybe the stock market's been doing so great, or you've sold other investments and you've made gains on your real estate, and you have this money that you would otherwise pay taxes on. You can put your money in a qualified fund, a qualified opportunity fund, and have those monies, that taxes deferred. And we're going to talk about that today and what that means. So there's been $4.5 billion raised in these opportunity funds since the inception in 2017, and over 365 opportunity funds put in place. So this is a hot thing going on. The government has given us these tax incentives to help distressed areas that are maybe distressed and haven't had the economic growth of certain of other areas. In this video, I've provided a link for you so that you can see what areas are qualified as opportunity zones. So these tax incentives allow you to place your money in a fund. You can create the fund yourself, or you can participate in another fund in which you participate in these investments, or you do these investments. So I'd like to start with taking you on the story of what Mike and I did with our opportunity fund. So we found a property in West Branch that is in an opportunity zone, and we purchased it. The year before that, we had stocks that we sold that had gains of about $70,000. So we had gains of $70,000 that we did not want to pay taxes on. So we found this property for $150,000. The value of the house itself without the acres of land is probably about $100,000. So rule number one is that you have to invest all of the money that you made from your gains in improvements to the property. It's not just enough to buy the opportunity zone property, but you have to place improvements to it. So the next thing that we had to do was to improve the property by the amount of the current property, or by the amount of the current housing unit on that property. So the housing was worth about $100,000. So we have to put $100,000 of improvements over the next 30 months. And in doing so, what we're doing with that $70,000 is deferring it. We'll have to pay it. After 5 years, if we sell that property, we get to pay 90% of that gain. So instead of paying $70,000, we'll pay 90% in capital gains tax, so about $63,000. After 7 years, we get a reduction of 15%. So instead of paying $70,000, we get a 15% price off of the taxes that we'll pay. And the coolest thing is, if you hold the opportunity zone property for 10 years or greater, you still pay 85%, I think it's at year 7 of your taxes. But after 10 years of ownership, any gains that you've made from the property when you sell the property are completely tax-free. So let's say that we bought this property for $150,000, we put $100,000 of improvements into it, and in 10 years we sell the property for $500,000. And our basis, or our cost, was $250,000. That extra $250,000 is completely not taxed. Pretty sweet, right? So some of the rules for buying in an opportunity zone is, if you purchase vacant land and you do new construction on the site, if you buy in a brownfield construction area, which has hazardous material on it, or the property has been vacant for 3 years or more prior to you purchasing the property. If it has one of those three things, well, then automatically it qualifies for the opportunity fund if you buy in an opportunity zone, which we outlined in those links below. If it doesn't follow one of those three categories. You're not doing new construction, it's not in a brownfield development, it hasn't been vacant for 3 years, then that's when the rule comes that you have to improve the property by the amount of the existing structures that are on the land. So my rule of, we bought our property for $150,000. We figured that the house is worth about $100,000, and we needed to do about $100,000 in improvements in 30 months to the property. So the government put this opportunity zone in place for a few reasons. They wanted to provide economic improvement to struggling communities, and they thought a lot of investors have had some significant gains over the last few years in the stock market and in real estate, and it incentivized them to reinvest that money into areas that need it the most. So it helps the communities that are struggling. It helps the investor who has made all these gains and would otherwise be paying heavy taxes. This is given incentives to make improvements to those areas that need it most. It's such a win-win. It's a win for investors who have made some significant gains, maybe in the stock market over these last few years or in real estate, that would otherwise pay these capital gain taxes. Instead, it encourages them to reinvest into areas that need it most. It is a pretty cool win-win situation, and this opportunity zone has gone from 2017 to 2026. So you can still get into the marketplace and buy commercial real estate in a commercial, in an opportunity zone, and take advantage of the tax benefits to do so. This is Dawn Connors at Mortgage One, providing you fantastic mortgage solutions and information about how to invest your money strategically in these interesting times. Thanks for watching.